Hello, everyone. It is your girl Karla with Breaking Chains Ministries. Wanted to come on today just to say hello and happy February. Yes, we have made it through January. It was crazy, right? I mean, literally, January was crazy. So we are now in February. And February has a lot going on, but it's a lot of good stuff. So, one thing we know that's going on, a lot of couples will be celebrating, as you know, Valentine's Day, the day for love. So, yes, everybody's going to be celebrating February 14th, giving each other gifts and all of that. We also know that February is Heart Health Month. So I say that to say this, heart disease is one of the leading causes of death amongst African Americans. So it is very necessary for you to make sure that you take care of yourself, have a sensible, healthy diet, balanced diet. Make sure you check in with your doctors, know your numbers so that you can be the best self that you possibly can, and also to have a healthy heart and a healthier you. And lastly, but not least, it is Black History Month. Yay! It is Black History Month. It is about us. Yes, it is. Even though it's the shortest month of the year, we are still going to make it great, right? But today, I wanted to come to you with regarding to Black History Month. Many of you don't know that I used to be for my job, formerly Genworth. I actually used to be the African American Forum President. I served there for a few years in that capacity, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, doing events and also bringing our culture alive and allowing people to know about our culture. But there's one thing that I want to bring to you today regarding Black History Month that a lot of people don't know or they overlook where it comes to our culture. Because, of course, there's a lot of things that we celebrate, a lot of people that we acknowledge during this month, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, George Washington Carver, the Obamas, um, of course. Um, but that deals with our African American culture here. But what about our roots, our heritage? It's not just here. Our roots and our heritage goes all the way back to biblical times. And I know that a lot of people want to give you the falsification that there were no blacks in the Bible. Well, I am coming to educate you to let you know there were plenty black people in the Bible, Africans. And although we are African American, part of our culture comes from Africa. So I want to let you know today we're going to have a Black History Month breaking moment. I want to take you all the way back to the biblical times and introduce you to John Mark. John Mark is the individual that actually wrote the gospel, one of the Synoptic Gospels, the book of Mark. Now, a lot of people, Christians, believers, if they are not really studious, and I'm not, coming at anyone, it's okay. A lot of people believe or may think that Mark was one of Jesus's original 12 disciples. Well, he was not. Matter of fact, his name was actually John Mark. John Mark was an African, and he was from Cyrene. Cyrene is located in Africa. It was in the northern part back in ancient times, the northern part of Africa. And in saying that, today we know Cyrene to be Libya. I wanted you to know that Mark wrote one of the Synoptic Gospels, which is the book of Mark. Actually, John Mark, which is his whole name, he got that name because John was his given Jewish name. Mark was his name given by Romans. So he's John Mark. And to say that he was an apprentice or disciple of the Apostle Peter, who was one of Jesus's 12 disciples. Matter of fact, Peter was in the inner circle of Jesus. Peter, James, and John. They were the main ones that hung around Jesus during the entire time of his ministry. So I say this to let you know, why was it not the book of Peter? Why is it Mark? The reason being is Mark, being an apprentice or stenographer for Peter, Peter actually, all the accounts that Mark wrote is from the viewpoint of what Peter had shared with John Mark or Mark about the ministry of Jesus. And you want to know why Peter didn't write it himself? Well, the thing was, Peter did not actually write Greek. And the actual New Testament is written in Greek and Arabic. So that should let you know right now that John Mark, we're going to call him Mark for short, Mark was a very learned man, very smart man. So I want to give you some fun facts about our black brother, John Mark, who wrote the Gospel of Mark. As I've already told you, he actually was an apprentice of Peter. He also, like I said, he is an African. He actually lived in Cyrene, which is the northern part of Africa. Today we call it Libya. And John Mark, or Mark, he came from wealthy parents. His parents were a diaspora Jew from the tribe of Levi. His father's name was Aristobulus, and you can find his name in Romans chapter 16, verse 10. And his mother's name was popular name Mary, and her name is found in Acts chapter 12, verse 12. So we know Mark to be he was an African Jew, and he was a disciple of Peter. But he was inspired by the Holy Ghost to write the book of Mark based on Peter's viewpoint. Later on in Mark's life, he also got up with the Apostle Paul and also Barnabas. He was one of their helpers. I'm not sure how much you know about the journey with John Mark, and Apostle Paul, but Barnabas and Paul split up because at that particular time, Paul felt like he was not, he had deserted them when they were ministering during their Christian tour throughout Minor Asia. So Barnabas took John Mark with him, and Paul took Silas. I know everybody knows about Paul and Silas. But to bring it up to the point of Mark did mature in the Lord. He matured in the Lord. And Mark not only wrote the gospel, the book of Mark, but he also began a missionary journey and started a church in Alexandria, which is in Africa. It was called the Coptic Church, Coptic. It's right on the Nile River in Egypt. Matter of fact, the area of Egypt that Mark started the church, he established this church and his missionary journey, is the same area when Jesus was a small baby. And his parents, Joseph and Mary, fled to Egypt to get away from King Herod from trying to kill baby Jesus. So he was in that same area. He did a wonderful and great work. So in saying all of this, the Coptic church that Mark started, they came under a lot of persecution, because not only were they one of the largest denominations or of Christian denominations in that particular area, they also was the most significant minority population in the Middle East. Now, the church that John Mark established, the theology was based on the scriptures and the traditions of the early church established by the original apostles. And although Mark was very, he had an awesome ministry, he actually, because of his ministry, he actually got killed by some of the people in Alexandria, because, as we all know, Christianity was not all that accepted. It was still under the Roman Empire at that time, and they served different gods. So John Mark got dragged in the street of Alexandria, and he ended up dying for his faith in Jesus Christ. So what I want to leave with you here, while you're telling us this, I want you to know that there are many Black people in the Bible. I want to eliminate the lies that have been told about there's no Black people in the Bible. And then when you look at your encyclopedias and you look at whatever sources that talk about the Bible, all you see is the Caucasian version. That is not true. There are many Black people represented in the Bible, many Africans. Simon was one. And of course, King Solomon. If you really read the Song of Songs, which is the book of Solomon, you will see that the woman loved him so much. They loved his skin because it was very dark and black. So, and there are others within our history and our heritage, because the Bible is our heritage. And you need to know that it just didn't start over here in America. It started in the biblical times. So you need to know your heritage as it relates to here and as it relates to then. Mark, the book of Mark, just so you know, it depicts the life and story of Jesus from his career in ministry all the way through his death. It depicts Jesus as who he was and who he said he was, which is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. So I wanted to leave that bit of Black History Month nugget with you on today. It is good to study your heritage, not just what they give you here, but go all the way back to know who you are. We are the children of the Most High God. And yes, our melanin and our skin is so beautiful. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we know that full well. Love the skin that you're in. Happy Black History Month. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Please join us with Breaking Chains Ministries. Spiritual Connect will begin the Ephesians series the first Tuesday in March. Please join us. We love for you to be with us during that time. Love you with the love of Christ.